good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to part two of the yearly goal setting workshops. Tonight we are going to be looking at basically one key phrase. In 12 months, I want to be. That's kind of the theme of all the sections that we're going to be going through today. And we'll also be referencing back, some of yesterday's areas as well. So those three blank spaces. We're going to be making additional notes on those before we come up with our clear ideas. So there's going to be a little bit of sort of brainstorming for each of the ones as we go through, and then you can write it sort of neater and more succinct when you come to writing it onto your part two sheet. So yesterday we looked at reviewing the year that's gone past, reviewing where we were currently with our core values, our life goal affirmations, our goals, general areas of our lives, how we wanted to be feeling a little bit moving forwards, and what emotions we wanted to take through. And today is about creating those actionable steps. In 12 months, I want to be. What is it that we need to make sure that we are doing and getting done over the next 12 months to make that a thing? So we will jump straight into it, I think, unless there's any questions about yesterday's session. All good. Just shout if any pop up. So, she didn't like. I wonder if I there. Not. We'll find out. Let's put it there and see if I can crop it on the recording or not. We'll see. So part two. Here we go. First things first, we're going to be looking at core values. So this is page 2 in the PDF download that is available on the membership site. I've also popped it in the WhatsApp group as well. Now this is what we started on a little bit yesterday. We will have written down our scores out of 10 for each of our core values. Obviously one, got a little line there, you can write your core values in as you go down. And then what we want to be thinking about is 3 key ideas, like actionable ideas for things that we can do and to make sure that we are improving that core value. And if you think back to last year, it doesn't matter how crazy some of these seem. This is about like utter wish fulfillment crazy. So you can use the blank spaces on the previous worksheets, on yesterday's worksheets, to jot down some madness. And then come up with 3 clear ideas. But again, they can seem a little bit out there. We're not trying to make sure they're realistic at this point. We will do that when we sort of hone them down into our actual goals. These are just ideas. These are brilliant, wonderful ideas that could help us achieve a higher ranking, a higher score, however you want to word it, with those goals. Yes, my darling.
Yes, a quick one, please. So in terms of the core values, this is obviously, as you said, a continuation of yesterday. So should we put it on the same sheet or a separate sheet?
So on you've got in the worksheet that we did yesterday where you put the scores in, there's that blank space on the right hand side.
That's what
I would use that to make a few notes, and then when you've got your 3 ideas, then you can write them in onto this one so it's a bit clearer. Use that space to sort of brainstorm, go a little bit extra crazy, and then pop your 3 ideas, the 3 you're going to go with, onto here. And it might be that you pick the 3 craziest. It might be that you pick the 3 calmest. It's what feels right to you. But I think having that little bit of, instead of just putting them straight onto here, if you use that little blank space next to each of them, it's also quite useful to then be looking at what score you gave it as well. Because if you gave it a really low score and you're very short of ideas, then you're gonna need a little bit more time to brainstorm and come up with some options.
Okay. I haven't actually even gotten to that stage yet because I've just not had time today during my working day.
Oh no, that's all right. So yeah, once you've scored each of those, that'll help inspire some of the ideas. So you can use that white space to sort of make a bit of a mess. Make a bit of a mess first, and then you can add them onto here afterwards.
So basically, it's supposed to be actionable.
These don't need to be. So these are ideas. We will be honing them down into those clear goals. Because obviously, if we did every single one of these. Even on this page alone, that would be 12 goals. No, that's not good maths at all, Jessica. That would be 9 goals. Suddenly that's 9 goals, and all we've looked at is 3 of our core values. So don't need to worry about making them actionable. They can be that little bit crazy. And I tend to find that there'll be overlap as well. So when we go in one of the later sessions, when we go into turning these into something a bit more actionable, there'll be overlap. So we might be able to say, oh, actually, idea 1 for core value 1 and idea 3 for core value 5, I could actually make those kind of similar and make that into one goal that serves both purposes.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do that at a future one. So yeah, don't worry,
Oh.
they don't need to be smart goals. They're literally ideas.
Okay, so let me then clarify then in terms of, I'm still thinking about it conceptually. So for instance, say if my core value is, I don't know, being organized as a core value, then the idea would be what, that I put an action plan in place, or what would the idea be for, say, to be organized?
So that would depend on the score you gave it. So if your core value is to be organized and you're about a 9 out of 10, you don't need to go quite so crazy with the ideas. You'd be like, actually, I'm one of my ideas could be literally maintain all my systems. It could be as simple as that.
Okay.
However, if your getting organized is currently ranking a 2 out of 10, one of your ideas could be like, sign myself up for a 3-month residential intensive course on organization, which is a bit extreme, but it's about this is about getting the ideas. I don't even know if one of those exists. Like that's where we are with the ideas section. With this section, it is that dream fantasy fulfillment. In 12 months, where do I want to be? If we had endless pots of money and endless time, like what could we do to make these things a reality? And it's really interesting how from doing this exercise, we actually come up with the realistic, logical ways to move things forward. And what I find is if we stifle our ideas, thinking, oh, that's not realistic this early on, we're not going to come up with anything good that is actionable. So allow yourself to go a little bit crazy with these ideas and think beyond the box, beyond the circle, beyond the oval, like beyond all the things. Because when we start going through these at a later date, like in one of the other sessions, we start breaking these down and turning them into actionables and see which ones are going to really make the most difference. And that's when we can make them realistic. This is literally the ideas factory on which our goals for the year are going to be built.
Oh, okay, I see.
I like that phrase. I'm going to keep that. Ideas factory on which our goals for next year are going to be built. Woohoo! Cool. So
that's a soundbite right there.
Yeah. Funny, I remember to do sound bites. Put that on my list. So these first few pages are all the same. This is just literally working through your core values, coming up with your 3 ideas for each one and popping them in. And you can use that and the white space on yesterday's paperwork to start brainstorming and then turning them into our fabulous ideas for our core values. This session's quite a quick one, so hopefully it'll give you a bit more time to work on the bits from yesterday afterwards. Because the next page is exactly the same thing for our life goal affirmations. Don't worry if some of your ideas seem very similar. There is likely to be a lot of crossover. Don't just write all the same things. Obviously, give your brain that chance to explore the possibilities. And go a little bit wild. But again, we're just writing in our life goal affirmations, or like I said, you can always just put abbreviation of life goal affirmation if some of the sentences are quite long, and coming up with those crazy ideas. Anything, what could I do if anything was possible? What could I do to help improve the rating I'm currently giving this life goal affirmation? Like my number 1 is I am an amazing wife and mother. And who knew? One of my crazy ideas last year should have been break up with my partner. But we've done that. So one of my crazy ideas for this one could be to go on a blind date every month. Again, not realistic. Who has that time? But
well, hey, you never know. You make the time.
You never know. I think it's easier to find non-blind dates now. It's be app dates, isn't it? Tinder dates.
Yeah.
At the moment, averaging about 3 a week.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole book to be written about this episode.
Yeah, definitely. I will get the first podcast episode recorded this week, but just, I needed to slot when there's no one else in the house so that I can just go for it and without worrying about what people are hearing. Excellent. Right. So back to this one. Yeah. So do think completely crazy and think outside the box, because you don't know what crazy idea could turn into a really, really good goal. So again, going through these for our life goal affirmations. Da, da, da. And then guess what? We're going to do the exact same thing for our key life areas. So there will be repetition, because you will have core values that represent some of your key life areas. You will have life goal affirmations that represent some of your key life areas. So don't worry if your crazy idea is the same in one of these. It might not be that crazy. And I think sometimes the fact that you've come up with that idea again in relation to another area is probably telling you something quite important about that idea, that there is something in that idea that's worth taking forward. I think a number of mine last year actually revolved around one of the goals that I ended up getting rid of. But I got rid of it because one of my goals was very much about working on my relationship, and I worked on it so hard I got rid of it. So I got rid of the goal too, but it obviously was showing up. It's interesting now looking back and realizing how many of my ideas it showed up, be it in the life areas, the life goals, the core values, how many of those areas it flagged up that was not right, that there was something that needed changing in that. There were so many different ways that my crazy ideas were telling me that needed something. Anything would have been an improvement. We've just gone for the slightly more extreme version. So yeah, really, really don't worry if things feel like they're a little bit overlappy or a little bit samey. We will, as part of when we go through and break these down, like look at patterns and look at the repetitions as well. And then nice and easy, the last page. Doesn't let me scroll down to the bottom of it. I have to move the box. Yeah. Is thinking about our word of the year. Now, I quite often find my word of the year lasts for more than 1 year. This one, was this just this year? Yeah, I think I've only had this one for this year. But the previous year was flow, and the year before that was flow, and then the year before that was focus. So it's I tend to find mine often last 2 years. That's just my pattern. And it could be that you repeat the same one from this year, next year. It could be that you have one from a couple of years ago that you then bring over. I actually am leaning towards focus now. I've said it again. So I'm like, I'm and ahhing about that. Yeah, go for it, my darling.
Okay. Oh, I'm not muted. Sorry, I thought I was muted. So we've got to the word of the year, and it's going to go on to another thing actually. I've got my word already, but within that word, there are various things. So is it possible to have one word, but out of that, so my word of the year is breakthrough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And out of that comes family, family. Out of that comes surrender, and my leap year. I didn't realize it was a leap year when I thought of these things, but basically that's my word for the year. And the offshoots of that those are the areas of focus. So I don't know whether you can have the word of the year, but underpinning that word are different, other things. Well, gratitude is one of them, for instance. I don't know. I'm not actually asking a question, am I? I'm just rambling.
No, you are. I get the question, so that's all right. We're our brains are both working the same way. So I put those round, like you can put your word of the year in the middle and then put those round it. And it's as long as it's having that really clear anchor. So I will do things like things that aren't high security. I'll have my word of the year as my password for. I have it as the screen, the backdrop on my computer screen. So as long as that word can remind you of all those things, that's what it's there for. It's when when all is a storm, what's going to anchor you? So for me this year, I've leaned back into create so much. I'm creating the life I want. I'm creating happiness for me and my daughter. I'm creating prosperity. I'm creating security. It's all been about what am I creating into this next step. And so I'm kind of leaning into focus for next year, because I've worked on what I want to create, and now I need to focus on all the actionable bits to make sure that's kind of happening. This needs to be a lot more of a kind of year coming up for me. So I don't know if I will go with focus, but it'll be I think something along those lines will be my word of the year. But it's having, as long as you can see that word of the year and think, yes, this I know what this means to me, that's what's important. I like having such a simple anchor, because there are days and times in life where we are clinging on by our fingernails, and if we can cling on to just one word, it just makes things simpler. And I like having it as I think I did it last year, so I'll do it again this year. Is if anyone wants me to create a backdrop in the membership, I'll create a little backdrop. I'm trying to let me minimize everything on my screen. I might be able to show you. Let me show you thing. So that's what's on my desktop.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
That I made, and so I can make you up one for. I think I had a phone version as well, but then my daughter got really upset that she wasn't my screensaver. She's not at the moment either, because I kept finding it weird if I was out on a date that the picture of my daughter was popping up on my phone. So I'm just like, no, you don't. You got to earn. You got to earn the date with me, and then you've really, really got to earn the right to meet my daughter. So
most definitely.
Yeah, maybe I will make a phone version and keep my phone version for this year as well. But that pops up. So every time I open up my computer, that's what pops up. I've got a big screen here as well. So if that's on, literally massive create across the screen there. And it just anchors me back down. And if all else fails, I can just look at that word and recenters me to know what's coming next. Like, what we're doing. Okay, we are all about creating this year. We are creating a home, which is why it's a building site. But hopefully it'll be less of a building site by the end of the year, and then it can be more about the focus. Focus doesn't feel quite the right word for me, so I will be hitting a thesaurus and looking up lots of different definitions to try and find that word that goes, that's it, that's the one I need. Normally I'm kind of want something that hybrids create and focus at the same time. But I haven't decided what that is yet. We'll find out. But like I said, with all of these, it could be that you just literally stick that piece of paper that says word of the year up. If you're like, anyone watching this on replay that hasn't got their word of the year yet, you can just stick that piece of paper up somewhere, so that you're constantly looking at it going, what do I want next year to be? How do I want to sum next year up in one word?
Can I ask a question about core values, actually?
Go for it.
So in terms of core values, right? So this is after I've done the exercise, by the way, in the membership. I've literally basically got it. I've got 16, but they're not. So for instance, I've got, say, a core value of excellence, and within that are offshoots, pretty much like this whole breakthrough thing. So it's trying to find the word that encapsulates everything, right? But excellence is so vague. What does that mean?
What does it mean to you?
Exactly. Well, to me, so that's why I've got the offshoots. Excellence to me means, you know, being an effective planner, being organized, you know, that kind of thing, all that, just doing everything with excellence to me, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I'm trying to work out. So in terms of this exercise, for instance, where like, say I've got the core value and the offshoots, what's the best way of actually whittling it down?
So it would be, that would be your core value. Just because the word means additional things to you doesn't mean that that's not your core value. It's finding that one word that summarizes it.
Summarizes the core value, okay.
Yeah. So I would really think about why excellence. So why do you think excellence is one of your core values?
Mhm,
And see what other words come out of that.
mhm, mhm.
Because that, you could be like, oh, actually, am I putting too much pressure on myself around that word?
Mhm.
It's quite an intense word. Is there maybe something else that I want? Like, I want to be consistent. I want to have try my best, put in effort.
Oh,
Playing around with that and really getting into, is it that I am? Do I want and have to be excellent at everything? Or is it more about the wanting to put effort in? Is it more about the trying my best side of things as well?
mhm.
It might be that you're like, actually, no, I really do want to be excellent at it. In which case we need to look at doing a course on perfectionism. But,
That's a different story.
and having to think about that, because it's a lot to put on ourselves. I think that can be
Mm,
quite interesting as well when you go into core values, is looking at what your current core values are and working out if they're healthy. So actually, you might be putting a lot of effort and time and energy into your excellence core value to the detriment of other
mhm,
areas, and actually what you need to do is maybe do some work on not feeling that pressure on yourself as well. So it's interesting you gave that one as an example. Because it's I think our core values are our core values, but they've come from somewhere.
Yeah.
They've they are usually a combination of nature and nurture.
Mhm,
They have come from somewhere, and I think we can actively choose as human beings. We can choose to change. Um,
mhm, mhm,
it's not overnight that something will then become a core value, and
mhm,
you suddenly go, oh, now as of today, my core value is going to be this, this, and this because this is who I want to
mhm,
be.
mhm,
But we can go, I currently have a core value of this. I'm not sure it's entirely healthy. So
mhm,
what steps am I going to take to try and rework my brain or work my brain to realize that that isn't as essential to my life
mhm,
as I'm currently making it. Um,
mhm.
I can't magically wave a wand and change one of my core values. But what work could I put in place? What knowledge could I gain that would help me to release that from its level of importance where it's on that key list? Um,
Yeah, but I guess, you know, you're right in so far as within the rubric of organized, I put consistent and persistent. They're pretty much the same word. Determination, they're all pretty much the same kind of word. So maybe rather than have so many, as you say, look at the rationale behind choosing that particular word and what it means, and then select the right word. And I think for me, the right word is really consistent. So for instance, this year, the whole aim was to build consistency, especially around my health and fitness in terms of regularly going to the gym, which I have achieved. And as an aside, since it's just you and I on the call, so what I've realized is that going through, because I literally kept carried with me the documents that we did all year, right? And as an aside, what I've realized is that going through the first page yesterday, how much I've actually achieved. Because initially it was like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. And I started looking, I thought, but I've done this, and I've done this, and I've done this. And I just highlighted everything in red. And I thought how powerful
yeah.
this is.
That's that makes me so happy. That's amazing. I think so. This is where you get people saying, "Oh, what's the point of making goals if you end up not achieving them, but you achieve other things?" And I was like, because it's an achievement mentality.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. It's about
being,
growth.
yeah, it's an achievement mentality. It's a growth mindset, and it's being realistic as we progress along our journey when
Mhm.
things change.
Mhm.
And I absolutely hate with a passion where it's like, don't change the goal, change the plan. And I'm like, sometimes the goal's just wrong. And that's okay.
Sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes the
that's
goal's just
okay.
wrong. Like every day we wake up and we're a slightly different person. So
Exactly.
our goals are gonna progress and change. It's not about being like, oh, this goal's hard, I don't want to do it anymore. It's about like, actually, I don't want to work on this relationship anymore.
Yeah. It no
Rubbish.
longer fits the person I am anymore, right?
Yeah. So it that's why I like to have it, is that we check in with the weekly review, we check it in with the monthly goal setting. It's just like, do these goals still align? Not
Mm.
am I finding this goal hard,
Mhm.
but is it still right for me? And then we can get to the end of the year, whereas without that growth mindset, and not only would we not achieve the goals we'd set out to at the beginning of the
Mhm.
year because we wouldn't have
Mhm.
planned any, but we're likely to not been in the right mindset to achieve any of the other steps either.
Mhm.
All those additional things that pop up throughout the year, we wouldn't have done any of those either.
Yeah, exactly.
The
But it's
mental
so
attitude,
powerful.
yeah. Oh, amazing. And
Mm.
right, I can hear a small person arriving outside, so I'm
Yep,
hoping
but yeah, way past time.
oh, in a couple of minutes. So tomorrow is 5:30,
Mhm.
and Thursday's 5:30. I haven't set a
Okay.
time for the other one because obviously it depends on which day we land on. But I'll get the worksheet. I got it up on the website last night, so do have a look on there
Okay.
tomorrow. Ooh.
That's the same worksheet that you sent through.
Yeah, I put it into the WhatsApp, but I tend to put it in the WhatsApp just before the session so people don't lose it in the messages and what have you.
Oh, I see. So it's on the website before.
Yeah, this one was. I'm trying to think. I might finish it. I just because I'm reformatting the ones from last year we didn't
Mhm.
have thingy sheets, and so
Mhm.
I've got all the workshops written down, and then
Mhm.
just make sure I'm adjusting going through all the sheets and stuff and formatting
Mhm.
it, which I had planned to do tomorrow morning. So I might do it tonight still. Depends how much painting I get done. I've got a half painted kitchen to go and finish as well after I've cooked. There's always something half painted. Half of the wallpaper in here is stripped. So the wall behind me and the wall to my left is stripped and painted. And then the wall in front of me and to my right is like half pulled off wallpaper.
Progress, steps, the slow, steady steps.
Baby steps, yeah. It's like the bathroom's all plumbed in, but there's no tiles on the wall and there's plasterboard missing.
But hey, you can shower.
Oh no, you can use the bath, but you can't shower. The shower's in, but the shower's literally attached to a wooden batten
For now, okay.
that will eventually have a piece of plasterboard between it. But I wrote off the bigger car in a giant puddle, and
Oops.
so I couldn't fit a sheet of plasterboard in my Beetle. Never mind. We've got a bigger car now, so hopefully get that sorted this week at some point. At least get it into the house. Hopefully, she says. Anyway, I will leave you in peace to carry
Enjoy
on
your
with
evening.
the
So see you
worksheet,
tomorrow.
and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Ta
Thank
ta for
you.
now.
Bye.